Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Akshit,
How old are you?
28.
What do you do for a living?
So I run this startup called as Logx. It's a crypto derivatives platform.
What is crypto derivatives? And like if you have to give an elevator pitch to a 20-year-old, what would it be?
I would say Logx is like I don't know. All of you would have already heard about Zerodha. So a lot of traders use Zerodha today purely because Zerodha is where like you get the best trading platform, best trading sort of you can take a 10x leverage on your money, on your capital, take a long, take a short. Technically, what we are building with Logx is exactly the same, but for crypto markets. So we're live across 120 countries, giving out derivatives products or products where you can, take a 10x leverage on your capital to take a long or a short on crypto assets.
How do people identify a good business idea?
Got it. So the way I would say, at least like in my view, the best way to figure out an idea is just go out there in the market. A lot of times, like we just try to sit in front of our computers and then we believe like we're gonna see something on Facebook, Instagram, or something. But all of that is like in my view crap. That the easiest way to get a good idea is to just go in the market, just talk to people, and then whatever you naturally feel makes sense or can be something that a lot of people like, just try to work around that. I think like that's the most basic, most fundamental way to get an idea, not like necessarily always sitting in front of the computer, which is where I think a lot of videos, a lot of movies sort of push us to.
If not Logx, what industry would you be very excited about, or what business are you excited about?
I would honestly like, this is one of the ideas that's there at the back of my mind. I would honestly build a food chain, right? A food chain which is like healthy in nature, but is at the same time tasty. So, for example, let's say there is this company called as Whole Truth, right? That's they're doing phenomenally well. But I'm saying like I want to build something on the drink side of things. For example, let's say a chocolate shake, which is very healthy, or let's say I don't know a snack which is very healthy. So I just believe like in my view that segment is something which I genuinely love, and ideally if I was not doing Logx, I would be doing that.
What is the top trait in a successful founder?
I would say the biggest trait is the ability to not give up. It's like like it's sort of something which is repeated a lot of times. So I'll just sort of put it in raw terms. There are so many moments where you genuinely believe that hey, like this is not going to work out, doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. The trick here is to fool yourself to actually think that hey, I'll figure something out which will make sense. And even though you do not know anything at that point in time, you have to like still have that belief. And the reason you should have that belief, and I think like this goes back to the core motivations of a lot of things, is that do you really want to do this, or do you want to just try this? If you want to try this, then you've already tried, then it's okay to like let go of this. But if you really want to do this, then it's much easier to sort of just like yeah, just take another shot, just take another shot. It's still day one, even if it's your fifth shot or sixth shot.
You left your high paying job at Cred to start Logx. What was the key moment that made you take that leap?
So to be honest and like to be very candid, I was like, even though the Cred job was amazing and like the people around in Cred were amazing, I was never ever satisfied from the get go, right? And like every month I kept on seeing like certain things, and I felt like oh, we can do this better, and we can do this better, and we can do this like larger. I can do more. We can do more, right? Like and whatever like I felt around that sort of the structure of like whatever company that is out there every day. While of course the common debate is like how do you feel like you were like so comfortable there, like why did you leave the job? In my view, I was not comfortable, like naturally the way I am, I was not comfortable leaving like some days aside where we sort of achieved certain metrics, certain milestones. At an aggregate level, I was not so comfortable purely because I genuinely felt that I can do so much more. I can put in so much more effort, so much more things, and like eventually we can like just I can add so much more value at an aggregate level. So honestly, like the answer is I was not comfortable all the time. I just wanted to get out there, try something, build something, and then I think like today I'm like 100x or 1000x more happier than my past state.
How should new entrepreneurs make a business plan?
I think the easiest way to think about a business plan is like throw away whatever you see on the internet and just observe one simple point. Observe cash transactions whenever and wherever they are happening. For example, let's say if I go out and I see a lot of people buying Sting Energy, right? I'm just taking a specific brand name, or let's say Red Bull. You believe there is a business there. and then start backwards from there. Wherever you see people paying money, or wherever you see there is a strong sort of craziness amongst people, just start from there, and then try to study what is the economics of that. What is how many pieces are sold on a particular day, how many number of pieces are sold on a particular day. And I think like everything else can be figured out from there, but at the core just try to see what is selling in higher volumes, what is it that people are crazy about, and then just work your way backwards from that.
A lot of youngsters struggle with initial capital. How should they think about bootstrapped versus funded?
I think it's a very tricky thing, and in my view, at a younger age, considering where the considering the entire capital industry is like relatively abundantly available, I would say if you are like relatively young and you are still experimenting, it's important that you have some capital cushioning. And the reason for that is not capital. The reason for that is you need that mental cushioning and some sort of time to figure things out, right? So that is why I always advise a lot of people that at a younger age, unless and until you have a very concrete idea which directly generates revenue, try to get some sort of funds. And then assuming, let's say, and the flip side to this advice is if you have very, very strong idea and you know like you're going to generate revenue from day one, ideally it's not so good to bring in investors right away. Why don't you bring in investors like 6 months later when you're like, I don't know, 500,000 at ARR, or let's say 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crore at ARR. Like there is no reason why not to bring investors then to bring them now. And you'll sort of also become much more disciplined for those 6 to 12 months. Till the point in time you bring in those investors, and you can like of course command better terms or whatever that you want to.
What are the top 3 things in a beautiful pitch deck that gets conversions?
I think, okay, so I'll drop genuine alpha here, which is point number one, it has to be trendy, right? Of course, like everybody tries to speak, it has to be fundamental or whatnot, but it has to be trendy. Like, in my view, if your pitch deck does not have something which has everybody's eyeballs right now, it's tough to, pass on that initial cut. So that's one. Second thing is, it should have a very clear and clean structure. I think like the easiest reference here is the Airbnb pitch deck or the Uber pitch deck or whatever pitch deck you get online for big companies. I think they are like good ones. That's second. And the third one is, in my view, you should have a clear vision, right? Of course, everybody is like, like so as Indians, we're like so much focused on our product. But what is extremely important is you need to have a clear path, or I won't call it a clear path, but a clear sort of messaging that this is where I want to take this. Right? Of course, it can evolve at after a point in time, but the core point is you should have some direction so that you know that the aim is large enough, aim is big enough. Like if I were to be like very candid, I would say like just show how your company can potentially be $1 billion, $10 billion company.
How should young entrepreneurs find their first customer?
I think the easiest way to find your first customer, and this goes back to the one of the earlier points I mentioned, is that just go out there in the market, wherever you picked your idea from. Like just, and this is like such a circulating question to ask. Wherever you picked your idea from, if you're finding it tough to get your first customer, you did not probably pick your idea from the right place. You picked it from some random thought that you had. Because like think of it this way. Let's assume I want to sell, I don't know, ice cream. I would just go, I will have 3 ice creams, and I would know that, hey, like, I like chocolate ice cream. If I build that chocolate ice cream, I have gone to that place so many times that I know I'm going to find my customers there. So I think like the core question of finding your first customers is, if you're like finding it a bit too hard, then technically you have to question the motivation as well as the core idea that you have picked in the very first place.
How should new entrepreneurs think about or treat their competition?
I think, like, to be honest, the earlier you are in the journey, the more you have to not, and I say not 100 times, care about your competitors. Because assume it this way, it's going to take you some time to become at least like base level. Let's call it like A player and B player and C player, right? So let's assume all of us are starting from C. So it's going to take you at least like 6 to 12 months in the business to get to B stage, or let's say even A minus, right? Not A. And then like all the people you're going to see on the internet, right? They're going to be A plus and whatnot. So think of it this way, your real game starts 6 months to 12 months out in the business, assuming you're on the same business and executing. So like the short answer is, for the first 12 months, really don't care about your competitors, but there is one thing you should care about and look for in your competitors. That is, look at their products, see what is good, and try to rebuild. Try to build a better version of it. Try to build a similar version of it. That's it. Apart from that, don't care about our competition. You're not even in the leaderboard right now. Like, just let's get in the leaderboard first, and then talk about it.
What do you have to say to an entrepreneur who wants to build but is procrastinating right now?
I would say, like, Okay, so here's the psychological answer that you're probably procrastinating because you want to. So ideally, I would say like don't jump into this till you are ready. Like that's the straightforward answer. But let's assume there are some people who are like extremely smart who actually want to do something and then they are in this constant loop because of some setback in life. I think in those cases, the easiest thing to do, as I said, let's go back to the core, is you find something interesting and you start working on it. Just brute force the hell out of it. Don't think about results. Don't think about, I don't know, funding, team members, business, 100 million, whatever XYZ numbers that the media or the online world has fed you. Just go out there, pick a good idea, spend 3 months. That's it. And spend 3 months shipping, not 3 months discussing or thinking. The moment you do that and the moment you see your first customer on the product, if you are a genuine entrepreneur, you won't be able to stop. Like, and that's it. That's the true test of an entrepreneur in my view. If you are a genuine person, you won't be able to stop. Once you see some level of success, you would just like want to, like, I don't know, put in 24 hours if physically possible into it.
As a founder, how do you manage your mental health?
So this is one of the most tricky parts, but in my view, the way to manage your mental health is not a lot of these modern things like a lot of people say we do therapy, we do I don't know, some sort of XYZ sessions. In my view, of course, like those are also interesting, but in my view, like the best way to actually combat that is a not have unreal expectations. No matter whosoever pushes you, whatever, don't have unreal expectations. See, sometimes some things take time. Sometimes some things happen early. It's like you can choose your effort, you can't choose your outcome all the times, like, right? So from that perspective, A, don't have super unreal expectations. Have a high bar, but don't have unreal expectations. That's one. And B, let's assume whatever is there, right? Like understand this is just one part of your life. There is another and 10x more, probably in my view, like in the long term, 10x more important part of your life. That is your family, your friends, like whosoever you know. Like just try to spend time with them. Don't think like, hey, I'm a founder. How can I spend like 5 days with my family or whatnot? Like, of course, sometimes you have more work, you manage that. But at the end, like all of us are like genuine humans, and then this is the basic calling. You spend time with people you like, spend time people who are like around you, and then I think like everything else sort of takes care of itself by design. That's how humans are designed.
Stop procrastinating, start today.
Or follow Kshitiz for business.
That was the episode, Future Founders. A lot of great founders and entrepreneurs are in line to guide you on your startup journey. Till then, stop procrastinating and start today.